Coming up on Tech News Today, people actually really pay for Hulu. Who knew? Facebook dismisses Google Plus as a fad, and 40 million iPhones are bust by the end of the year. All that and more next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, July 6th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog for a free trial and 30% off your new account for 3 months. Go to Squarespace.com, use the offer code TNT7. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we kick around Tech News Today, try to make some sense of it all. Joining us today, Editor-in-Chief of Engadget, Mr. Tim Stevens. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good to be. We love your. Well, it looks kind of orange on this monitor, but it's a red room, right? Is it red or orange?
No, it's bright orange. It's like the same color as a safety cone.
So this monitor is right. The earlier monitor I was looking at.
It's very calming. It's like a saffron almost.
Saffron. Thank you.
Adds color to an otherwise very dull program.
Yes, finally.
I'm glad I can add something.
It's the only reason we keep bringing it back.
It's really hot in the studio today, and the brain cells are just kind of doing their own thing.
Facebook had their awesome announcement this morning: Skype in a browser. On to the next story. No,
awesome.
Yeah. So Mark Zuckerberg came out. It was I don't know about you, Tim. I thought it was kind of a manic feeling announcement. It was a little bit disorganized, a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, they were all over the place during the announcement, and they kind of threw in that they had millions of new subscribers and all this other stuff that they were working on. But yeah, it definitely felt kind of thrown together, and I don't know, it didn't feel very awesome to me, but maybe I'm a bit cynical.
Yeah, it's possible. They announced 3 things: group chat. It's possible that I'm cynical, is what I meant to say, not you. They announced.
Yeah, I'm certainly cynical.
Group chat, which is the ability to on the fly invite several people into a group chat. Before, you had to create a group, which was a whole separate thing, and then you could chat with that group. Now you can on the fly just say, hey, I want to chat with Tim and Sarah and Iyaz and Jason, and throw them all together. New design, streamlined to find people easier. It didn't seem that.
Are they rolling that out still? Because my design looks exactly the same.
My design looks the same. In fact, I don't have the group chat button.
Maybe they moved everything 1 pixel. You just didn't notice the streamline.
But awesome. the big announcement was video calling. Skype is now integrated into Facebook. And Facebook is more integrated into Skype. Skype 5.3 for Windows has the ability to see your friends, see your news feed, and make video calls. And then there's some extra options in 5.5 beta, both for Windows. But the focus on of this announcement was, I'm in Facebook now. I click on somebody's name, there's a little video icon, I can click that and make a video call.
Yeah, today I decided to test it out, and the person that we were chatting already, and I tried to initiate a video call, and he had to download the JAR file in order to participate. I mean, it took 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's an
very
EXE
easy
on Windows or a JAR on Mac.
Right.
Now, that means you can't use it on Linux.
Right.
You also can't use it on any mobile devices yet.
Is this going to lead to a whole bunch of potential spam and things? Like, hey, you just go ahead and install this application. I mean, people are just used to using Facebook and clicking an EXE file. Isn't that just kind of dangerous at some point?
You think it might turn into a phishing thing?
At some point, I'd imagine. But then again, if this is your friends, if these are your friends and they're sending out these messages, do you trust your friends at that point? But I think one of the things that's getting lost in this, everyone's like, oh, Google Plus has this and that and whatever. The thing is, Facebook's open right now. Every one of us can go out and try this right now if we wanted to. And it's not like we have to wait for a long invitation period or any of that other stuff. So, I mean, the other thing is that there's all that contact integration. Who's on Facebook, who's on Skype, you don't have to worry about that. They're already all together.
I feel like this is a very defensive maneuver to keep people inside Facebook. They made a big deal in this announcement about how numbers don't matter anymore for Facebook. It's the amount of sharing that people do. And I think that's a little bit of an answer to the folks saying, Facebook isn't growing the way it used to. In fact, it might even be declining in the U.S. They also obviously hurried this thing and threw it together in order to answer Google Plus. Don't you think, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels kind of disappointing compared to what Google Plus had. Last week, I was doing a video chat with 10 people on Google Plus, and it was working great, even on limited bandwidth. We had people all over the world, and it was fine. Now to step back to something where I have to download either a jar or an executable and run that, and you can still only get a one-on-one video chat. It feels a little bit limited compared to what you can do right now on Google Plus. Although, admittedly, not everybody can get into Google Plus yet, but hopefully it won't be too long before Google does open things up there. And ultimately, I'm not really sure this is something that I'm going to be using that much, because I find myself Skyping more in a professional way. I mean, I tend to Skype with coworkers. I'm Skyping with you guys right now.
Right.
And so to be Skyping with friends, that's not something that I do a lot. I don't know if you guys are Skyping with friends more so than coworkers, that kind of thing.
Well, I don't know if I am more than any other video calling. I mean, video calling is appropriate sometimes, not all the time. Where I think Facebook has an edge on Google Plus is, yes, we've all talked about how the Hangout video group chat works really well, but it is a novelty. I'm not going to be using that on a daily basis. Facebook has 750 million users, and one-on-one phone video chatting is what the majority of people are going to be doing regularly. A group video call on a regular basis it's just not really going to happen for most of us.
It's going to expose a lot of people to Skype who won't even know it's Skype.
That's
they're going
right.
to think it's Facebook's video calling.
And they don't
thingy.
care if it's Skype.
And they're going to use it where they would have never used Skype because they just didn't want to bother with it.
I mean, it's a big hurdle to say to somebody, okay, go get Skype, get the executable, install that, then get a username and a password, and then let me know what your username is, and then approve me when I actually try to get your contact information. Like, it does get it gets rid of a lot of those hurdles.
Yeah, on the Skype view, the Facebook integration to me makes it look messier. It's like, oh gosh, my Skype window has just gotten a lot of information. But within Facebook itself, it's like you just click that little video icon and you start a video chat. I mean, yes, you have to download a file once.
It's not that much bigger of a deal than what you have to do for Google Hangout, though.
Right, you need to get the Google Talk video chat plugin thing.
Exactly. You have to update it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I still think Facebook they have such the huge user base. Yes, Google Plus, they're going to open it up to the public eventually, and a lot of people will join, and a lot of people will get something out of Hangouts. But Facebook is still winning as far as having people who are sitting there willing and able to try it out.
We should also not forget that Skype is Microsoft, and of course Google Plus is from Google. So this gives Microsoft kind of a bit of an angle into Facebook. Of course, Microsoft already owns a part of Facebook, so maybe this is Microsoft's beginning of a play on the social network side, whereas Google is making its play on the social network side as well.
And I think it helps Skype. Because all of a sudden you have a bunch more users. Leo and I were talking about this during the live coverage. It's possible that all of these Facebook users are supernodes, and it could make Skype more reliable because of the way Skype works as a peer-to-peer service. The more supernodes and the more people using it, the more robust it gets because it's transferring the traffic around through everyone who uses Skype versus having some kind of central server that could get overloaded. So suddenly Skype might find itself a little more reliable and a little more robust. And the big thing they're going to get, and he mentioned, the CEO of Skype mentioned this in the announcement, is the ability to try to upsell people down the road. They're not doing that yet, but they said they would like to.
Right, there's group chat right now that's coming to Facebook, and that's only text-based, because if you want to do group video chat, which is a feature of Skype, I think, Premium, you're not going to be able to do that in Facebook just yet.
Which Zuckerberg said rather vaguely, yeah, I'm working on it. Maybe.
It's not what we're here to talk about today.
Right.
So
no. So
stop
is
asking.
the short answer, but not never.
Exactly. I really do think that this is a smart move for Facebook. They want to get out there real quickly to the people inside Facebook who are just hearing glimmers of Google Plus. It's closed. Google Plus can't. Most of the people who use Facebook can't go use Google Plus. So while they're still within Facebook, give them a bunch of candy. Give them a bunch of new stuff and new toys to play with, and hopefully you stave off the number that will rush to try out Google Plus when it comes out.
Yeah, and it's not mandatory. I mean, if you don't like Facebook chat, you don't even have to have chat enabled at all.
Yeah.
So
Spotify is coming to the U.S. It was hilarious. I mentioned this to Leo this morning when he first came in, and he was like, yeah, we knew that. I'm like, no, but they really say it on their website. It says Spotify's coming to the U.S. on the actual Spotify website. He's like, when does it launch? Well, it doesn't
there's
a
place to put in your email.
You can put in your email and they'll notify you.
To get on the waiting list.
He just kind of nodded. Like, yeah. So Spotify is admitting that Spotify is coming to the U.S. is essentially what happened today. And yeah, you can put in your email and get invited at some time.
Yeah, I put in my email. I thought I noticed that Leo mentioned the same thing on This Week in Google before the show started. That it's funny that what people are saying about Spotify include Demi Moore and Mark Zuckerberg. It's like, well, if they like it, it must be good.
Now, Engadget, you guys are reporting things are finalizing for testing here in the States. Do you have any inside scoops in there?
No, I wish I did. The big question that we're still wondering is how much is it going to cost? The free service in Europe used to be great, but they kind of capped that down a little bit. Right now, I think it's €5 a month for unlimited streaming and €10 if you want to also have some local caching. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something similar, like a $5 and a $10 package in the U.S., but at this point, that's probably the big question on my mind is how much is it going to cost?
Yeah, the folks over in the UK are getting a bundle right now. They'll get Spotify bundled in with their Virgin broadband service, £5 for the unlimited, £10 for the premium, and it allows them to include it not just on the web, but also on set-top boxes and mobile phones. Set-top box being the big thing if you're a Virgin Mobile broadband subscriber, and you're getting TV through there as well. Now you can have Spotify on your television, I guess. So you know they're expanding what they do and then where they can be.
Although nobody who uses free Spotify will get any of those. So
no, exactly.
Right.
It works for them for anybody who wants to pay a little bit.
Given how long it's taking them to negotiate everything in the U.S., I have a feeling we won't see a free Spotify over here.
I kind of feel the same way.
I think they actually say it's free right on their website right now. When you sign up, it says, and it's free. So it might be free when they get in here. And I think also with the Virgin Media stuff, I believe that their unlimited and premium bundles are actually going to have the Spotify access, the premium counts at a discount.
Anytime, anywhere, so and it's free.
It'll be a little different in the UK. But yeah, it looks like it'll be free here. I don't know what kind of limited.
One song per month.
It could be something super limited. I mean, when Spotify did a bunch of these changes, they tamped down how many tracks you had access to. And that seemed like to me, when I saw it, I was like, this is a step when they are coming to the United States, they'll be able to say, yeah, we only let those guys do 10 free tracks, and so will you.
Yeah, that's how we read it as well. And I don't think that we'll see the same kind of deals with cable providers in the U.S. We're seeing in Europe. There's a lot more competition there for different internet providers, and they're trying to do more interesting things with what they provide to their subscribers, more so than just data. In the U.S., there's really no competition when it comes to broadband, so unfortunately, I don't think we'll see any package deals like that.
Yeah, I think you're right, because you pretty much have one or two choices depending on where you live.
Yeah, two if you're lucky.
Yeah. On to a rumor mill segment. iOS style.
That didn't work.
The rumor mill is
Hold on.
not Tim Stevens. Tim Stevens he's a fact.
It's not coming up in my preview. Why is it not
He's
coming?
not a rumor.
When you getting upgraded, buddy?
All right, here
We can confirm.
I'm a fact. I'm thinner and lighter than most.
All right.
That didn't work out so well. We'll work on that.
Yeah, work on that, will you?
That was Rumor Mill Alpha. So
Building on yesterday's Digitimes rumor, Wall Street Journal reporting that Apple is asking Foxconn to build 25 million new iPhones by the end of the year. Now, the interesting math going on here. So Digitimes yesterday said that Pegatron was going to be building 15 million. So Ars Technica looked at this and said, well, if Digitimes says that Foxconn or the Pegatron's building 15 million and Wall Street Journal says Foxconn's building 25 million, we're going to see 40 million by the end of the year.
So they just simple
They just add them
addition,
together.
right?
It's good math.
Yeah, it is. Good rumor math. Apple requests a few million be ready in August for a September release, according to the Wall Street Journal, though they could be delayed because some of the manufacturers complain that it is complicated and difficult to assemble, possibly because it is thinner and lighter than the iPhone 4. Also in there, 8-megapixel rear-facing camera and a Qualcomm baseband processor. We seem to be narrowing in on an actual iPhone. You know, it's like, Joy of Tech had a fantastic cartoon up today of all the different versions of the iPhone kind of arguing with each other about which one is the real iPhone, because there's been so many different
And then
rumors.
the keyboard iPhone walks up, and the other two are like, "Gosh, that guy just ruins rumors for the rest of us."
Link bait. Get out of here.
It's definitely the orange one.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, if you sort of like focus in on the commonalities rather than the differences, it sounds like we are going to get a new iPhone in fall. It is going to have an 8-megapixel camera, and it will be built in Taiwan.
Although President Obama, during his Twitter address today, said he would like Apple to start manufacturing everything in the States. Wouldn't that be nice?
Sure he would. I'm sure he would like that. I'm sure
he'd like to pay $1,200 for his next iPhone as well.
I'm sure Apple would like to have the tax subsidy that would convince them to do that. Also in the rumor mill, Citadel Securities analyst Xing Yin believes Sprint will be getting the iPhone by the end of the year. Tim, what do you think? It makes sense that Apple, now that they're not exclusive, would just offer it to everybody, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does. We're seeing them using broadband chipsets that will allow them to be more or less selective, I should say, with which carriers that they want to work with. And I think with Sprint being one of the holdouts when it comes to unlimited data, that it kind of makes sense that they would want to be on that bandwagon as well. So yeah, there's no reason that at this point Apple wouldn't want to be on all the carriers in the US, or at least as many as possible. And I think that they can do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that.
Craig Berger from FBR Capital Markets had the craziest rumor of the day, and then he kind of backed out of it at the end. He told the International Business Times, Apple has sent out requests for quotes to different suppliers for a new tablet, though no specific schedule of production has been confirmed. It would be for an iPad 2 Plus, anywhere from 250 to 300 pixels per inch, compared with the current iPad 2's 132 pixels per inch resolution, and could launch in the fall. But Berger himself said, well, I'm not going to confirm that any of this is true yet.
I have to believe that Apple's not going to call anything a plus. The iPad
super
iPad 2
iPad.
Plus.
Yeah.
The iPad 2R for Retina. I mean, this every rumor.
I understand that
seeing,
it's an extra, but the Plus is a little bit taken at this point.
I'm just getting sick of these. It's like, look, there's either going to be 400 iPhones, and there's going to be like 900 iPads, and then one's going to be 7-inch, and one's going to be a 4-inch, and it'll be an iPod Touch Max, and then there's going to... Okay, I'm just waiting for this stuff to come out.
You got to look for the similarities. You got to look for the commonalities and the likelihoods.
Yes, there's going to be an iPhone
amongst the fog
that's coming out, and there's going to be a new iPad.
With the iPad, it does sound... the only thing that makes sense of them going off-cycle with iPad is that they would come out with some slightly modified iPad. Now, Apple doesn't usually do that, which is why I haven't believed it up till now. But if you combine this with some of those other rumors, it would make sense if they're like, hey, it's the same iPad 2, it's just got a nicer screen.
And that way they really can't say iPad 3 because it's not cool enough to go up a version. So iPad 2... ... I don't know what you add on the end of it.
X for extreme
I just
resolution.
think plus is probably not the right term. But yeah, I mean, that would be... Retina display iPad would be just the iPad 2 with a little bit extra.
Apple 2 Plus, Mac Plus.
Do they sell that in addition to the iPad 2? I mean, do you then have two models of the iPad 2 floating around? It would seem to make more sense for them to get rid of the original iPad to the lower resolution version. So then do they charge extra for the hardware? We've been hearing about a Retina version iPad since before the iPad 2 came out. In fact, we were expecting that the iPad 2 would have one. And it almost seemed like Apple might have made a late decision to go back to the screen before. And Apple's also had some production yield issues with the iPad 2. So maybe this is just them reaching out to other suppliers and trying to improve the situation, not so much with a new model iPad 2, but just to improve the supply of the iPad 2.
That could be as well. And they wouldn't even have to change the name if they did that.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break. Thank our sponsor, Squarespace, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. If you'd like to start your own analyst site, you could have it up and running like within seconds at Squarespace. Such an easy-to-use UI. I use it for Sword and Laser. Have a new episode of Sword and Laser out today. Go to swordandlaser.com. You can see an example of Squarespace in action. We use it for forecast. And the nice thing about it is it makes it dead simple to publish an episode. If we want to get in there and tweak the design, we can using the CSS under the hood. You can get to the HTML very easily when you post. I always post my show notes right out of Google Spreadsheet into the HTML and then go back to the WYSIWYG format so I can easily make stuff bold and link without having to do as much typing. And the all-inclusive service includes the ability to handle however much traffic you throw at it. They adapt to it. That's the advantage to paying for Squarespace over trying to host it yourself. And you can import your stuff from Blogger, Movable Type, and TypePad, as well as take your data with you if you ever decide to leave. They're not trying to lock you in. So sign up for a free account. No credit card necessary. Just try it out. Like I said, you can have your website built in seconds. And if you decide to purchase it, we're going to give you a little deal, right, Iyaz?
What would that deal be?
That's going to be 30% off for 3 months using the offer code TNT7.
TNT7? The number 7?
Is that okay if we do?
Is it all caps, TNT7?
TNT7.
Cap 7 for the audio listeners?
Right.
Oh, that sounds great.
7 means July. See,
So you can figure out next month.
That's why it used to be TNT 6 back in June. Squarespace.com. Use the offer code TNT7, 30% off your first 3 months if you decide to keep it. And we hope you'll try it out, or tell a friend to try it out, or set up a website for a friend and charge them, and then you get them to pay the Squarespace fee. You make some little bit of money. Squarespace.com. Thank them for their support of Tech News Today. On now to Microsoft, seeking to make some money their own way by charging Samsung $15 per Android handset.
Yeah, Microsoft has a ton of patents, and they've been using it kind of as a weapon and using companies like HTC to give them revenue.
Now, HTC has to pay Microsoft $5 per HTC phone that they sell.
Phone, yeah.
Android phone that they sell.
That's what we think the deal is. Yeah.
So how can they go up $10 and charge Samsung something like $15? That's quite a jump.
Well, the rumor was that Microsoft was actually looking for $7, and so they're going for $15 up front, so they can negotiate
just good
down.
Negotiators.
Well, yeah, Mary Jo Foley did the math and said, look, given what they've charged, what it's worth, Microsoft's probably opening with 15 and would settle for 7.
To,
right.
Yeah.
And Microsoft's basically trying to say that they have patents that cover Android, and anybody who makes Android hardware, it seems like they're only going after hardware makers right now. Microsoft deserves a royalty of some kind. And again, they've been announcing deals like this left and right.
This is according to a report from South Korea's Mail business newspaper, that's M-A-E-I-L, citing anonymous sources. It was picked up by Reuters. Now, here's the interesting thing. Microsoft has already got a deal with HTC, General Dynamics Itronics and their licensing division, Wistron, which we mentioned in Newsfuse yesterday. In addition to Velocity Micro and Onkyo, Microsoft is taking Barnes & Noble to court over patent infringement claims, and received a favorable ruling against Motorola after they accused them of infringing 19 patents with Android software. So Microsoft is building up a big track record of beating Android, either in court or off the court, by getting deals. And we haven't heard a peep out of Google about this, Tim. Does this mean that Android's got patent trouble? I mean, what's going on here? Why is everybody capitulating, but Google isn't taking any heat for this?
I think it definitely means that Microsoft has a strong case. I mean, obviously they do. Everyone is basically bending to Microsoft's will at this point. And it's interesting to me that a lot of these players are tablet manufacturers. Samsung, Wistron, Velocity Micro, Onkyo. They make tablets. And, of course, Microsoft is wanting to get big in the tablet space with Windows 8, which is coming up not too long from now. So maybe this is something to do with if these tablet manufacturers want to get on the Windows 8 bandwagon, they have to basically pay up their Android dues and make things good there before they can move on to Windows 8. That could be it, but ultimately, yeah, it definitely seems like Microsoft has a strong case, and Google is staying out of it.
And Google just, I mean, they didn't get the Nortel patents. They don't have a strong patent portfolio to fight this kind of stuff with. Microsoft is not taking them on directly because Android is an open source project, and Google controls it, but they don't actually own it. So I don't even know if could they win a case against Google for this.
Microsoft, if they went up against Google on this? I mean, again, it depends. I don't know what exactly these patents are. That's why I'm thinking this is just hardware-based, and since Google is all about the software on this, it's not exactly Google's fight. It's not Microsoft versus Google. It's Microsoft versus anybody who makes hardware.
But you think Google would want this to stop, or it would discourage people from using Android as a platform in the future?
But it hasn't made people stop. They're paying Microsoft, and they're keeping it going because Samsung doesn't want to introduce Bada to the world. I mean, that exists out there. I mean, does Velocity Micro? Velocity Micro. Do they want to come up with their own operating system or just pay off Microsoft? It's really about. Android gave an opportunity to a lot of companies to make some interesting hardware, and they didn't have to worry about the software anymore. And this just might be the easiest way to go.
Tim, I think you've got an interesting point there as well, that if you want to get on Windows Phone, or you want to get favorable terms for your Windows Phone, you might
Windows 8,
or Windows 8, you might want to deal with Microsoft. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's always good to be nice and to pay up.
Yeah.
We got to pay to play.
Keep everybody happy. Keep them smiling. Although it doesn't seem like Motorola was trying to keep them happy. They fought it. And Barnes & Noble obviously has no. There's nothing else they want to do except use Android on the NUC. So at least
right. And Motorola's not having a lot of success on the tablet space anyway. So maybe Motorola is not interested in playing along there, and that's why they're fighting. Who knows?
What we do know is that iPhone users play games like nuts. Nielsen reports games are the biggest form of app content and paid content, and gamers on the iOS platform play games far more than those on other operating systems. According to Nielsen's figure, of those who have downloaded apps in the last 30 days, they surveyed those kind of people. Said, if you downloaded an app, okay, we want to talk to you. 93% of them said they would be willing to pay for games on the mobile platform. Compared that to 76% said they'd be willing to pay for news. That's still good news for the news business. 76% want to pay for it, but almost everybody says, "Oh yeah, I'll pay for a game."
Well, this is the iOS platform, right? So it's iPhone and iPad users.
This number is before they narrowed it down to iOS. This was all mobile users.
So just the little iPhone screen. Well, I mean, you got to waste time somehow.
Or your Android
screen. Is that
screen.
based on what we're used to? I mean, for a long time, yeah. I mean, you paid for games. Okay, you did it on consoles, you did it on PC, you did it on Macs, whatever you had, minus like the free ones that come with your operating system. Is this just because people are used to it versus news? Because that became very free once the internet showed up and newspapers were throwing all their content online for free. People got used to not paying for it. Same thing with music. They're like, I'm not paying for music if it's online. But games, on the other hand, other than these flash games that they put in these banner ads, I mean, games for the most part, for serious gamers, have been pay. Is this just a behavior thing?
Although, you know, you mentioned music, and I think iTunes is a good example of setting a price that was reasonable enough for people to say 99 cents for a song. Okay, you're not gouging me. It's not just $1, just under $1. So I mean, if a game is priced low enough, I don't think people have a problem paying $1 or $2 for a game. $10 for a game is a different story on a mobile platform.
Right. I think it comes down to cost and convenience. $1 for a game is very easy to do it. Even $5 for a game, you wouldn't really think too much about that if the game looks good. And convenience, of course, you know, on all these platforms, it's very easy to buy a game. They're all tied back to a credit card, and once you set that up once, it's all set up. When people have tried to get news paid for online, it was always a separate account. If you go to this website and get news, and you have to sign in and enter in your credit card information for each new news site, that gets to be a headache. So people just kind of gravitate toward the free ones because it's much easier. But on these mobile platforms, it's so easy to pay for apps, and in general, they're so cheap. It's kind of like a why not sort of thing.
And they play them. iPhone users play games for 14.7 hours each month, which is double the average. The average for mobile users is 7.8 hours. And iTunes is raking in the money off of them. $13 billion in annual revenue will go into Apple's pocket by 2013, according to an estimate from global equities research analyst Tip Chowdhury. That means they would grow over 40%. Now, if they can make $13 billion annually, Asimco estimates that Apple spends around $1.3 billion a year to run iTunes in its App Store, which has up to now been considered a break-even proposition to help sell hardware. But if these apps keep going that way, and they can make $13 billion in revenue just off selling people 99-cent games and in-app subscriptions, that's a moneymaker.
And that goes back to how Apple takes 30% of every single thing that's sold in their App Store. And it's probably why they're so guarded when it comes to subscriptions or anything that comes through that App Store. 30% to them, because if it's making them this kind of money, I mean, they don't have to even go around, you know, suing people left and right like Microsoft.
Especially since their overall revenue is so dependent on the iPhone and increasingly on the iPad at this point. They really need those apps to be a revenue stream as well.
Which reminds me, I have a Tiny Tower thing that I have to go.
Don't do it. Just don't do it. I see people waste their lives on Tiny Tower.
You'll never get that life.
Just say no.
I heard
this
the
is your brain.
But I need to find somebody for a tutor. Nintendo might want to pay attention to all these numbers we're kicking around. Earlier this week, news broke that Nintendo would bring Pokemon to iOS. It's true. That's not a rumor. Pokemon Say Tap BW is a timing game that will be brought to iOS. So everybody thought, is Nintendo going to start making games for the iOS platform? Talking to Bloomberg today, a spokesman for Nintendo said the decision to only develop games for its own hardware has not changed and won't change. The deal with Pokemon is that Nintendo only owns 32% of the company that makes it.
So this wasn't Nintendo saying, let's just dip our toe into iOS. They just didn't have the choice.
But so shouldn't they consider this though? If you know, this is a great way to dip your toe in the water. It's like, hey, we can disavow. We only own 32% of that company, but if it goes well, I mean,
I know it's pretty definitive to say we haven't changed our minds and we'll never change our mind.
I'm just trying
they might change their minds.
When Sega ceased being a console maker and just became a game publisher, that confused me. I never thought that happened when I was a kid. I mean, for Nintendo, I mean they dominate on the handheld market, right? They already have the DS, the 3DS, and that stuff's still very strong. And if you want, I guess, more serious casual games, I don't know if that's even a thing. Because there's iOS kinds of games which are really kind of easy, and then there's the 3DS, which actually has some really crazy games. So I mean, maybe in the long run they would eventually move to that Sega route of we're just a game publisher. But there's a whole bunch of other markets to hit.
Well, I mean, a mobile game publisher right now is a mobile game device maker is a dying breed.
That's true. I mean, Sony's been trying with their PSP and GP.
And Sony did the smart thing by making the Sony Ericsson Play, which is sort of their hedge against the PSP finally dying. And PSP and 3DS aren't going anywhere right now, but looking ahead, people are going to be gaming on a single platform, on that phone.
There aren't too many generations left of that dedicated mobile gaming hardware because so many people have smartphones at this point, and the age at which people are getting these phones is getting younger and younger every year. So once you have kids in like elementary school rocking Android handsets with Tegra 2 chipsets or something more powerful, at that point there's really no point in them having a separate gaming device only for playing Nintendo games. So Nintendo should get on this mobile bandwagon, and if this is them dipping their toe in the water, then that's great. Sony's trying to do it with the Xperia Play and with their PlayStation certified program, so that they can have PlayStation games on mobile devices. It's something that these game developers and publishers need to think about doing, because ultimately this dedicated gaming hardware stuff is going to go away, which is sad for me as a gamer. I always have loved getting new consoles and going on launch day and waiting in line, and it's going to be sad to see that go away. But ultimately, it's going to go away.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. You never thought you'd hear yourself saying, "I'll miss standing in line."
That did sound pretty sad, didn't it?
Yeah.
But it's true.
But there's something about opening day of a movie or the release date of a big game or something like that. Like,
right. It's not going to be the same click and download and waiting for the progress bar to slide. It won't be such excitement.
Although at midnight when World of Warcraft Cataclysm came out, I was really happy for the click and download. I didn't
You didn't have a stand-in-line party at your house?
Yeah. I stood in line at my computer, and I was the only one in line.
I'm number one. There you go.
Let's move on to the news fuse. A leaked Motorola Droid Bionic ad from Best Buy is making the rounds today, showing off a squared-off version of the LTE phone that is the Verizon model of AT&T's Atrix 4G. The ad just lists the Bionic as coming soon, though Android Central pegs the release date as early as August.
The DOE is the latest under the gun of malicious hackers. The department's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory in Washington shut down internet access and email services following a sophisticated cyber attack, according to a July 5th post on the facility's Twitter account. Officials became aware of the cyber attack on July 1st. Greg Kohler, the lab spokesperson, told the Associated Press.
HTC picked up S3 graphics from processor maker VIA for about $300 million. For the consumer, that should mean HTC devices will have better graphics processing overall. For HTC, this also gives the company some more patents, so it can use it to defend itself from current legal dispute with Apple and any other comers. VIA will still have access to S3's patents as well.
Too late to defend themselves against Microsoft, I guess. Twitter is raising a new round of financing, according to the Wall Street Journal. Citing anonymous sources, Journal reports that Twitter's financing could be based on a valuation of $7 billion. Company is generally thought to be in the black, but not necessarily making loads of money. The value pales in comparison, however, when you compare it to Groupon's estimated $20 billion or Facebook's estimated $100 billion.
Get on it, Twitter. Be a success.
Get up there.
iPad 2 owners can finally break free of the chains that bind them to the Apple App Store by visiting jailbreakme.com. The site is back up and available to jailbreak iPads, GSM iPhone 3GS and 4s, and 3G and 4G iPod Touches, all running iOS 4.3, 4.3.3, or anything in between. CDMA iPhone 4s running iOS 4.2.8 can be jailbroken too. I hope you guys are taking notes. A lot of numbers here. In reaction to Jailbreak Me, Germany's IT agency issued a statement warning of critical weaknesses in iOS that could provide attackers unrestricted access to a device if a malicious PDF is clicked on, according to the Associated Press.
Hulu's a hit, according to Hulu. CEO Jason Kilar, rumored to be working without a contract at this point, gave a Q2 progress report touting the fact that Hulu is at 875,000 paid subscribers, which rounded up is 1 million. So if you're looking at blog headlines, you might see 1 million. Hulu hoped to hit 1 million by the end of the year, and now think they'll hit that number by the end of the summer. Kilar also projected $500 million in revenue for 2011.
The University of Nebraska is ditching IBM Lotus Notes in order to head to the cloud, and they've chosen Office 365 as their cloud of choice. Microsoft gives them access to newer technology, greater flexibility, and $250,000 in business incentive funds, quote unquote. The funds help to beat out Google and IBM for the contract and will cover, quote, consulting and possibly not breaking kneecaps. Something.
If I was at the University of Nebraska, I would not miss Lotus Notes one bit, as I haven't since 2004 when I stopped using it.
I miss it.
You do?
Yeah.
You do not.
I miss crashing.
Yeah, that crashiness of it all.
Or the calendar not loading.
Lotus Notes calendar. Good times. The Register reports that Google has removed over 11 million .co.cc websites from search because of spamminess. They were just too spammy. .co.cc is a domain name, kind of like TWiT TV, not an actual second-level domain like co.uk, for example. Subdomains on .co.cc are offered by a Korean company. It's a private company. Google classes the firm as a free host, and they blocked the whole domain because they said a very large fraction of sites on the host were just spammy or crappy. They were low quality. .cc belongs to the Cocos Island, which is near Australia. Little trivia.
A lot of people are getting upset about this, but it's sort of just like blocking a service because the service seems mostly spammy.
Right.
So, a hard one to say. Finally, it is time for the randomizer. I've been waiting for this all my life. Not the randomizer I've been waiting all my life. The story in the randomizer. A flying car has been cleared for use on U.S. roads, according to the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration. The Terrafugia flying car is now legal for use. An exemption allows the transition to use tires that are appropriately rated for highway speeds and vehicle weight, but not normally permitted on multi-purpose vehicles. So they gave him one easement there. They also allowed him to use a different type of windscreen because Terrafugia argued that the traditional laminated safety glass could fracture in a way to obscure the vision of a pilot when flying, or maybe if there was a bird impact. So instead, they allowed him to use polycarbonate materials, which are just as protective, but won't shatter or craze, as they call it, if a bird hit you. Last summer, the transition was given initial approval by the FAA, so now that the Highway Administration has weighed in, they could be available as early as the end of this year, costing you a mere $200,000, and you can reserve one for a deposit of $10,000.
So are we going in on this, or we're going to have this on the top of the TWiT studio?
Yeah,
so
terrafugia.com/order.html. Everybody want to pitch in? What do you think?
I will go bankrupt making sure I never sit in traffic again.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
You're just gonna fly over the Golden Gate Bridge.
We can get
quality of life.
We can probably get a great payment plan.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of hate to be a downer, but this isn't really so much a flying car as it is a drivable airplane.
Downer.
You still need a runway.
Tim.
You still need a pilot's license. Yeah, I know I'm a downer.
Waiting
but
our whole lives.
It's a flying car.
Drivable airplane, flying car, partly cloudy, mostly sunny. What's the difference?
Semantics.
You do need this isn't a car. You can't just hover off the top of the TWiT studio.
And it won't fold into a briefcase either.
Yeah. Ooh, now you're giving me something else to wait for. Screw you. I'm not going to give you $200,000. I'm going to wait for the briefcase flying car, for God's sakes. Now to the calendar.
The Huffington Post launched its UK edition today. In fact, I was up past midnight, and all of my UK friends were starting to talk about it on Twitter. France is next in the works, so congratulations.
You're next, France.
Ms. Huffington. Civilization World, that's the Facebook version of the very popular turn-based world-conquering game, launched today, except it forces you to cooperate with others because it's supposed to be all socially and networky, which isn't really civvy and conquery for anybody who likes the original game.
I want to wipe everyone out. That's how you win the game.
No, you're supposed to thank them.
You have to be friendly.
And +1 everything that they say.
Well,
you know,
like it.
Networky.
Facebook is about as good at buzz killing as Tim.
Try to play nice with others.
Ouch.
Wow.
I kid because I love.
Speaking of Google+, they're going to start requiring that profiles be visible to all. That means if you have a private profile, which is acceptable right now, they'll just get rid of it after July 31st. So if you still want to be part of it and you've got a profile that's private, got to make that public before the end of the month. Microsoft CES 2012 keynote is going to include public Windows 8 beta. Official and unofficial sources have said the same thing. The event is confirmed with Steve Ballmer on stage, and it's going to be at the Las Vegas Venetian, not the usual Hilton Center. So a little departure in 2012.
So Tim, do you think as a journalist that has the same feet pain that all journalists have at CES, what do you think about them moving it to the Venetian? It might cut down the crowd a little, maybe.
Flying cars?
Yeah, if we had a flying car, then that might help a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be a longer while. I mean, getting to the current keynote location is hardly easy, so I'm not sure exactly what the transportation situation is going to be like. It should cut down the crowds. It should be able to get more people in, which has definitely been a problem. But I'm not really looking forward to the extra distance myself.
All right, let's move on to our voicemails. 260-TNT show is the number to call. This one's very quick, but it refers to our discussion of how hard it is to actually get Verizon to let you out of your early termination fee because of that small change of fees.
About the Verizon and the increase in the charge, they'll actually just ended up creating it for the 2-year contract, so you can't get out of the contract that way.
Now, I'm not sure if he means he's speaking from personal experience, but apparently, according to a consumerist follow-up story, Verizon's coming up with all kinds of ways to not have to give you an out on the early termination fee. So one of them could be they'd refund the fee for the remainder of your 2-year contract, give you that. That's probably the cheapest way out for them. They've also told people it's a government fee, which it's not technically, so don't let them tell you that. They've told people that it is not material adverse, because it's only a few cents of a fee, and therefore, if you were to take them to court, the judge may say
13 cents.
This is not really impacting you, and so it shouldn't be grounds for letting you out. They might have a case there.
That is half a gumball. 13 cents. Not nothing.
Is half a gumball materially adverse?
It can be.
Iyaz is just like,
it really
you
can.
guys,
I was afraid I was going to ask it.
Well, no, I thought we were moving to the next one, but it can be depending on how many people it's impacted, and impacted everybody who uses Verizon. And at 3 cents, I mean, it really just depends on how good your lawyer is.
All right, let's move on to our next caller, who has an idea for a Google Plus profile shortener.
Hey there, guys. This is Mark Whiteside from the UK, Scotland to be precise. I just thought I would phone in to say that Google has just released its shorteners for its Google Plus profiles at plus.ly, and it seems quite relatively new. Not a lot have been taken. I managed to get Marco, and I tried some of your guys' names. I managed to get Sarah as well, so plus.ly/Sarah goes to Sarah Lane's profile. It's really easy to set up, and at the moment there's some really good ones going because it's quite quiet launch, so I thought I'd advertise that. That's plus.ly. Thanks so much, guys. I absolutely love the show. Have a good day, guys. Cheers.
Hey, thanks for the tip.
He also wrote me. It works.
Yeah.
But is it actually officially a Google service?
Well, I checked
No,
out.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, who.is, and it says it's a fellow named Ahmed Siddiqui, and that's the guy who owns it. Now, I don't know if he works for Google. I don't think he does.
No, and I don't imagine Google would go register a .ly for something like this.
Also, if it was
They also have their own shortener already.
Exactly.
So they could use that.
Yeah.
So this is not a Google official thing, but it's very low on the risk scale. I'm not going to say anything is no risk, but all you're giving them is a name that you choose, which is random, and then the ID number from your Google Plus URL, which is a public number. Anybody can get it. That's how the guy was able to create.
I guess the only issue would be if I took Iyaz's name and redirected that to my profile. People could screw other people over, I guess.
You could do some hijacking.
I thought he was like, he took Sarah's name, and what did he do with it? And then at the end, it's like, oh yeah, put it to Sarah Lane's actual.
Which was very nice. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I've never actually been a singular Sarah on any service before.
Congratulations.
So.
I use gplus.to.
Yeah.
But I don't know how.
I grabbed both.
They just seem to work exactly the same way. So.
Derek writes in to TNT at twit.tv, says, hey, TNT crew, I was just watching number 277, saw the bit about the chocolate 3D printer. That's actually something you can do right now with the MakerBot. Swap out the plastic extruder for the Frostruder tool head, attach an air compressor, and bam! You're printing all the same stuff with frosting, chocolate, and peanut butter. And I know they make cone CAD designs for MakerBot.
Booyah. Chocolate, frosting, and peanut butter is a party.
Yeah. In your mouth. and everyone's not invited.
We should put this in the TWiT kitchen.
Keep it in your mouth, Tom.
Don't say that. don't, take it back. Take it back.
It can't be unsaid. It's live streamed and recorded.
All right. Well, Tim, thank you for putting up with our horrible jokes, strange illusions, and me insulting you. It's
always a pleasure to be a part of them.
It's good to have you on the show. Let folks know what's going on in Engadget.
Well, we just did a hands-on with the new Google Maps, which actually has a beta feature that you can download content to your phone. So if you know you're going offline, you can download maps and still navigate around while you're there. We have a lot of great features and reviews coming up this week, as ever, too.
Excellent. Check them out, Engadget.com. Also, don't forget about our Reddit at technewstoday.reddit.com. Thanks to DM Max, Flash Cider, Pete C, Sit Adrian, Enjoy What You Have 83, Baby Cheeses, Cheap Bite, I love these names, and more folks who submitted URLs. We appreciate that. We've got over 1,000 Redditors over there helping us pick stories for the show, like Spotify set to launch in the U.S., the flying car. Both those came off of Reddit. And also, don't forget about the bricks for our new studio. We had to buy an extra router, so we need to sell a few more bricks, if you don't mind. Bricks.twit.tv. If you've been thinking about dropping a dime on a brick and get your name up on the wall in the studio, please do. Check it out. Help us move into the studio and get all the stuff we need. Bricks.twit.tv. We thank you for your support. And you can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT. 260-TNT show is our phone number, and our email is tnt@twit.tv. We will see you tomorrow.